Does your body present with one shoulder that is higher than the other? And maybe you find that no matter how much stretching you do, you always have this reoccurring neck tightness that just doesn't seem to go away. So one of the reasons as to why you potentially have this reoccurring tightness through here and your shoulders are always presenting themselves slightly unevenly isn't always because of the shoulders themselves. And to be honest, that's not often the case. More often than not, it actually has to do with the positioning of what's underneath it, your rib cage. So as an example, if my shoulders will say are level, and then I tilt into my right, you can see how my left shoulder now gives the appearance as if it's elevated. But if I bring my ribs back to neutral, you can see the positioning on my shoulders didn't actually change all that much. So one thing that we're gonna wanna be mindful of is where is our rib cage positioned and where is my head positioned relative to that. This is what's known as relative joint positioning. So if I tilt to my right, my head obviously doesn't want to exist here. It wants to be level. So now if I bring my ribs to neutral, we can see that my head is actually somewhat always tilted to the left, which is going to cause a lot of this tightness to always be there. So until we get out of this tendency with our head, we're probably going to have some level of restriction or feeling of restriction through there. And stretching and release work is only going to take you so far. So what we're going to do about it is, because more often than not, people tend to be right side biased and the left shoulder tends to be higher than the other, that's what we're going to focus on today. But if you do find yourself in the opposing camp, then you can just work the opposite side to what I'm working. So what you're gonna need for this is a foam roller. You don't have to have one. You can just place your arm on the wall in a similar fashion, but a foam roller will be helpful here because we're gonna do a little bit of rolling. So what we're gonna work on is creating some space, first and foremost, in between your hip and your armpit. I want you to kind of feel into this area. And what we're gonna be trying to work on is this action of doing a small press up with a gentle lean to the left. And you can see as this arm comes up, my body kind of wants to naturally fall to the left. And all we're gonna work on is this rolling action alongside bringing some pressure into this right side. So what this is gonna look like is we're gonna take the foam roller up to the wall. We're gonna take the middle of our forearm on here, and we're gonna get a 90-degree angle at the elbow. What I'm gonna start to do is press up just to the point that I feel I can keep contact with the foam roller. And then we're gonna start to bring some pressure and bias our inhale into this right side as we exhale into the left. So I'm gonna take an inhale right. And now I'm gonna exhale left. And what I want you to try to feel into is there being a evenness both through your inhale and exhale. You're gonna work about a 5-second draw in on your right side to a 5-second exhale on the left. And the position that you're trying to kind of feel into is a slight asymmetry going the opposing way. So if I'm tilted into my right, we wanna get a slight tilt into the left. Be mindful with this arm that it doesn't start to go into an internal rotation excessively. See if you can keep that a little bit open, not allowing that shoulder to overly elevate. And you're gonna work through 10 to 12 full breath cycles into this right side, and then 5 to 10 exhales coming into your left side. So now that you have a better felt sense of what it feels like to bring some air and expansion into your right side, what we're gonna do is build on that in a more active way. So you can grab a couple yoga blocks. You can also use some books, anything that's gonna give you a little bit of height. What you're gonna do is take your left leg on top of that, and your right leg is just gonna be straight out. My left knee, in this case, is at 90 degrees. What we're gonna do is add a reach with this right arm, and for now, I just want you to allow your hips to come down slightly. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna push down through this left leg to bring our hips up. Now in this position here, what we are going to work on is keeping our hips and our ribs slightly shifted upwards towards the ceiling. I'm going to take an inhale into this right side, exhale left, and now we are going to slowly let the hips drop while we keep some connection to this left oblique. So I'm not just letting that go and letting my hips dump down. I'm trying to keep this connection between those muscle groups. And now through that action of my leg pressing down, that's going to come back up. We're going to do one full breath cycle here, and then just a maintenance of that as you're coming down. And what you're trying to feel into as you're going through this is that same sense of expansion on this right side, but also those left obliques really working here. And you're also having to work this left side for stability. So be mindful that you're not collapsing into this left side. Keep that active press away from the floor to keep yourself supported. And you're really gonna feel this whole left side having to work to kind of support you in that position. So now, when you go into your movements and your day-to-day activities, you gave your body better instruction as to where you want some feedback to be. I would suggest working through this for anywhere between about 5 to 8 reps. It won't take much because that breath cycle at the top and the pause is going to be very fatiguing. So keeping with this theme of creating some space through the right side of the ribs to hopefully get you out of this right side bias and get your shoulders a little bit more to neutral, what we're going to work on is a swing coming out to the side, and we're going to start to work through some movement. If you're new to this channel, not only do we go through corrective exercise, but we also want to be adding in movement around it. Ideally, some form of rhythmic movement. So what we are going to have here is a kettlebell. You can go through this with body weight or a dumbbell. Even a water bottle will work here as well. And what we're going to go through first is just the general coordination of this. So you can imagine your palm is going to be facing me. And what I want you to imagine on this left side is you're pulling a rope into you. And as you pull this rope into you, it's bringing this other arm over. And I'm doing ever so slightly a little bit of a lean into this left side, as you can see. So I'm here, I'm getting all this length and a stretch. And then what we're going to do is we're just going to open both arms back up. So one more time, I'm going to pull here. As I pull, I'm falling into my left side, and then I'm reaching with my right. And you can just get a feel for what it feels like to go through this movement to start with. Just kind of get the general coordination of it and kind of get just a feel for that motion. And I would go slightly wider than your hips with your stance, about shoulder width here. Then you can grab the tool of your choice, and this is what it's going to look like more rhythmically. So I'm going to open and reach, open and reach. And I'm just feeling my weight kind of go to and from this left leg as I again go into a little bit of a tilt on the left. And what we're working here is that sense that the right side is getting some length. I'm allowing both arms to externally rotate when I go here, and then I'm just pulling through off of that. You can work through about 12 to 15 reps on this. You can use it as a way to dynamically connect to this area of your body, but you can also use this as a warm-up to just get your shoulders and then everything kind of primed for any strength-related work that you might have ahead. So hopefully you learned a few new things as it relates to understanding any misalignment or unevenness of your shoulders. Is this a death sentence for your body and you're going to be in pain forever? No, but I do think there are things that we can certainly consider as it relates to having this asymmetrical pattern with the shoulder, especially if it's causing some discomfort, we'll say around your neck or maybe even into your lower back. Anyways, that is going to wrap this week's video on addressing and just better understanding your uneven shoulders. If you did find some value in it, do all the YouTube things that the YouTube algorithm enjoys. You can like, subscribe, and while you're here, go check out another video I did on the body in some way that YouTube thinks you'll enjoy. So go check that out. It's right here, and I hope to see you there. We'll see you soon.